there, and welcome to the UkeStuff YouTube channel. Today I'll be reviewing for the UkeGuide series this instrument. This is the Panda Watercolor instrument. It just came out in 2019. Panda is one of the sub-brands of Amahi. And without getting into too many details in this video, there'll be a future video that actually compares this. When I saw this at Summer NAMM in Nashville, it was priced at $39 minimum advertised price, which means you could potentially find it less than that, with a manufacturer suggested retail price of $49. And it looks exactly like another company's product. So I was immediately intrigued. And when I came back, I ordered one from the local place that carries Amahi instruments here in the Twin Cities of the United States. And what I can tell you about it is that it took a while to get here. It took about a month to get here, give or take a little bit. But as I compare it, it is remarkably similar to that other instrument, but not the same. And without being too much of a spoiler, I'm also going to tell you that I probably would recommend the other instrument over this one, but this isn't a bad instrument. So put all that together and we'll talk about it as we go. So I've already mentioned the price. I got mine for $39. I didn't have to haggle or argue at all. And then of course tax gets added to that. And you cannot buy these online. So skipping ahead to the idea of availability, Amahi says, I talked to their reps at NAMM, and they said that they don't deal with internet sales. They try to work through local dealers, which that's kind of a nice thing for your local dealer. And there are a few local dealers of Amahi near me, for example. But anyway, so if you want one of these, you'll have to find a dealer that carries it, and then they can order it for you. The value, it's a $39 ukulele, and you're getting a lot for the value. So quite honestly, it is a good value. When you get done with this review, you'll notice that I'm not going to say it's a bad ukulele. I have to recommend it because it's a decent ukulele, and I'll just leave it at that. But I think you are getting a good value. Now, the build quality is a little bit lower than its competitor. The paint job actually isn't bad. I like the all black, but if I get close, do you see that big gouge in the soundboard? It came that way. I didn't drop it or anything onto that point. The edge of the sound hole, I'll probably never get this. Oh yeah, you can see it. All it takes is 20 seconds for somebody with a Q-tip or something to get in there and make sure that is stained well as well. And then a couple other weird things. The strings are tied with a tie-bar bridge, which we'll come back to later. But again, the end of the strings point at the player. Now, if you are a left-handed player, that's okay because it's not going to get you that way. But if you are a right-handed player and your hand goes anywhere near that bridge, you're going to feel that sharp end of the string sticking out. If I show you, that last little bit does actually stick out, even if you push it down because of the way that it's tied. So there is something that can be fixed at the factory. Tie the strings the other way, as the majority of your population playing ukulele is going to be right-handed, and then lefties can flip them around because they're going to have to change the string direction anyway if they want to play it lefty. So also, there's one other really weird thing about this particular model. I'll show it to you and I'll let you see if you can see it. Do you see the front position markers? Right, pretty standard, 5, 7, 10, 12, 14. That's weird. I guess they didn't want to go all the way down onto the bottom marker, but the fact is that 14th fret, it's just a weird location. It should be the 15th or not at all. So that's just kind of weird. And that's the other weird thing about this instrument. The appearance is very plain, but again, that's probably going to appeal to a beginning player. And the fact that you can get a wide variety of colors, and it's also this more rugged ABS construction, that's all pretty good. People will be interested in that, but it isn't like all blingy. And I do have to say that just these plain front markers, I think that's a nice touch. It doesn't need it, and I'll just leave it at that. I kind of like the plainness of it. Headstock is not a crown or anything else, so that's kind of nice too to see the little change there. So we've already talked about availability of these things. You'll have to find a Amahi dealer to get one. In terms of playability, there's something kind of cool about this, which is it has actually a rather wide spacing for a soprano instrument, which makes it a little bit easier to play than your standard soprano. So if you are a normal soprano player, or sorry, if you're not a normal soprano player and you're a little bit worried about the strings being too close together on a 35 millimeter nut, well, the nut itself is hard to gauge because it does have a 0 fret. You can see a little second line there. So there's the nut, there's a 0 fret that helps with intonation. But it's a wide playing experience, and that does help, especially if you're coming from a concert tenor and want to start playing soprano. Down the road, it won't matter as much to you, but there you go. In terms of sound quality, it's decent. Now, without getting too far into it, I think the competitor's product sounds a little better, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The main one, I think, is the shape of the instrument. Now, you can see this has a very slightly arched back. The competitor's product has a much more arched back, and I think that really shoots that sound out in a different way. And so anyway, this one ends up being a little bit darker than the competitors. It loses some of the brightness and jangliness of what you would expect in a soprano, and it's still decently loud. So that's kind of it's okay. It's a decent sound quality. It doesn't sound like a total wood instrument, but it doesn't sound like a plastic instrument either because of that wood soundboard there. So let's talk about specifics of this instrument. It is a soprano, so the measured scale length is just over 13.5 inches from the 0 fret to the saddle. There are 15 frets with that odd marker at 14. There are side marker dots, as you can see on the side of the ukulele, which is nice. It's a traditional double bout style. The soundboard is wood, which makes all the difference. Now, again, there are plastic ukuleles out there. I've been reviewing, for example, my outdoor ukuleles, which are wonderful. Polycarbonate, I think very highly of them. You can't do everything with this ukulele that you could with one of those. Also, if you leave this in the sun in a hot car in the summer, it's not going to fare too well. Polycarbonate is a different material than ABS. So it's not indestructible, but it is going to be generally more rugged than most wood ukuleles. So definitely think of this on the same lines of ruggedness as a dolphin, for example, a Kella dolphin, which, by the way, is not the competitor. There is a difference, by the way. I might as well mention that. The dolphin has a plastic body with a wood soundboard, but then also a wood neck, whereas this has a ABS neck. It is textured. Got to see if I can get the lighting in there. It is textured to make it feel wood-ish, but it's definitely plastic, definitely hollow. And so it's a little bit different, and then also has a plastic fretboard, whereas the dolphin and the shark models would have a wood fretboard on the top. And then also, I should mention another competitor's product that costs a lot more, the Magic Fluke, will have a wood soundboard with an ABS body, a very different shape, either kind of a paddle shape or almost kind of a triangular shape, whether you're talking the Flea or the Fluke model. But then they also will have a wood neck and then a very different headstock on the Magic Fluke. So this solution is somewhat unique. Even the ukuleles of like the 1950s that were all plastic didn't come with a wood soundboard. So it's kind of a weird, cool, different combination. And again, unfortunately, Panda and Amahi didn't really come up with it. But nonetheless, it's another ukulele that's out there and available right now. So 15 frets, side marker dots, double bout body. Soundboard is wood of some kind. I'm not sure what kind. It's a laminate wood. So it will be impervious. Like if you get wet, you don't have to, fret about it. Just dry it off. But it could be ruined in rain. Again, at $39, maybe that's not as big of a concern. The back and sides and neck are all ABS. Fretboard is plastic with gold paint on it, and yes, that paint will come off, and if that bothers you, you could tape it down and tape it again and paint it with something else, or like even maybe a more durable paint. But hey, it's all right. Again, it's a $39 not necessarily even a beginner ukulele, but just, again, a kind of a travel ukulele, put in that context. The bridge is a plastic bridge that's not wood, which is screwed in and is a tie bar format. It is not a radius fretboard, it's totally flat. The nut is a nut, but then there's that 0 fret to make sure that intonation is good. Glad that they did that. But then this is the big departure, quite honestly, over its competitor, is it has a removable saddle so that you could adjust the action if you wanted to, at least on this side of the ukulele. You're not adjusting it over here, you could adjust it over there. Now, a few more things. Flat finish, although it kind of looks glossy in the ring light that I'm using. The overall length is just over 21.5 inches, and it weighs exactly 1 pound. Open geared tuners, and here's one of the quality control issues. Can you see, let's see if I can get it, see how this one is crooked? It's like they screwed it in wrong, and then, to add insult to injury, you can see like a hole there where I think it was supposed to be drilled into. So that one passed quality control. It's not enough for me to return it on a $39 ukulele, but you might look at it and say, no, thank you, I'd like another one that isn't put together. And again, they had no idea that I was going to review this online. I just ordered one from a local dealer and they sent it out, right? So there's where you go. The action at the first fret is maybe just a fraction, super fraction of an inch, a little higher than I'd like. I wish that was set down just a touch more, but that's okay. Just above 0.5 millimeters, which would be, in my mind, ideal, a great place to start. And the action of the 12th fret is very good at 2.25 millimeters. So it's a nice, comfortable, overall low playing experience. Would like a touch less motion, just a touch, on the nut end, but there's nothing you can do to change that. The nut width as measured in the plastic is 36.30 millimeters, and the space is 9.30 millimeters between each string, which is quite a bit. That's larger than a lot of the tenors that I have, with a total space of over 30 millimeters between G to A. So you do have a lot of room on this instrument compared to other instruments. And finally, the other thing I like to measure is how deep is it? Because some of these ukuleles, they end up with this really, really deep C shape. Barry Maz at Got a Ukulele calls that the baseball bat, kind of design. Well, this does have that traditional C shape, but it's more narrow. And again, that's based off, I think, of the competitor. But nonetheless, it's very, very narrow here at just about 21 millimeters, just under 21 millimeters at the 3rd fret. So it gives you the idea that it's really actually quite comfortable to play, again, with generally good action, wide spacing, and other things. So in summary, just the summary statements I would make is, yeah, it seems to be a competitor copy, a carbon copy of a competitor, maybe reverse engineering a competitor's project. Even though that might be the case, it doesn't make it a bad ukulele. And I'll be honest with you, if you're comparing buying this with perhaps the Waterman, or you're comparing buying this with buying a Dolphin, you might actually want to look at this instead. It's a decent ukulele. There are a couple cosmetic issues there, and I would definitely, and I probably will be, putting on other strings. It comes with Aquila Super Nile Gut strings, and again, nothing against Aquila. I like Aquila. I like their sugar strings a lot. I'm just not a Nile Gut fan, and some people are. That's great. I generally end up putting fluorocarbons or Aquila sugar strings on most of my ukuleles just because I like the feel and sound of those better. But that's totally subjective. I wouldn't tell you to do that, although I would say if you don't totally like how it sounds, try some different strings. And maybe that'll change my opinion slightly about the sound here too. Might make it a little brighter, but I still think that the other ukulele that's very much similar to this is a little bit better of a ukulele. So can I do that? I'm going to recommend it. I'm going to say it's worth buying as ukulele, but if I had to buy this one or the other one, I would probably buy the competitor's product, and I will talk about that in a separate video. I will, by the way, make a UkeGuide of that competitor's product first, and then I'll do a video comparing the two, and then you can decide for yourself what you'd like to do. Now, I like to give these a rating. You can find it online at UkeGuide.info, but I make these available. It's the whole idea is sort of like an appliance. When you look at an appliance in the energy guide and what to look at, I've done the same thing with the idea of the UkeGuide, and that list is starting to grow nicely with my ukulele collection. I give this one out of 5 ukuleles. I give this one 3.5 ukuleles, and that's respectable. I mean, it means it's a decent ukulele. It's playable. It's worth the purchase. Just I think that there are some better ones out there. I think it's a little darker and not as loud as it is maybe a competitor's product that is a little better. So I feel pretty comfortable with that rating. So again, I think if you buy one of these, you're not going to be disappointed. Oh, and I should also mention it does come with a super thin gig bag, and quite honestly, I don't even call this a gig bag. I just call this a dust cover. And I think the idea is it's a rugged ukulele, so what do you really need padding for anyway? So it does come with a small bag with the cute little panda logo if you're interested in such things. And yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. So if you're interested in these, the only way to get one is through an Amahi dealer. Should be about $39. If they want to charge you a lot more than that, talk to them and let them know that you know what the minimum advertised price is, and go from there. So thanks for watching. Watch for a video review of the competitor's product that this one is based off of, and then a separate non-UkeGuide video comparing those two directly. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.